Mantour Ministries presents the Mantour Guy podcast. We may talk about football. We could mention bacon. We might reference Rocky movies. We'll probably discuss the Mantour conferences, but we'll definitely talk about how to grow in our walk with God. Here's your host, the Mantour Guy, Jamie Holden.
Hey guys, welcome to the Mantour Guy podcast. Jamie Holden here, and so happy to have you join us once again today. Well guys, today we're going to be discussing two of my favorite things: gaining freedom and victory, and of course, Rocky. We're going to look at the one time that Paulie, Rocky's brother-in-law, knew more about fighting than Apollo Creed. Alright, I know that statement got your attention, right guys? But first things first, let's talk about gaining victory. I'm extremely passionate about seeing men stand up and fight when the enemy's attacks come our way. Too many of God's sons are too willing to roll over and be defeated by the enemy. When he throws his temptations or his discouragements or his trials or his hard times, too often we allow ourselves to fall prey to them. And guys, that's just not God's will. And that's what we're going to be talking about with you today. I don't want you to think this is going to be a podcast of me preaching at you or being judgy. Guys, you know me, you know that's not my heart. I want to instead share with you an experience I recently had and the lessons that I learned from it. And together we're going to see how to react when an enemy comes at us. And yes, guys, we will get to Paulie, I promise. But guys, first let me share with you a recent experience I had. As you know, we are full force in the Mantour season in our conferences. And as you're listening to this podcast, we've already been a quarter of the way through our conferences. But guys, leading up to these invincible conferences, I personally found myself facing some of the heaviest attacks of spiritual warfare I've ever faced. The enemy was doing everything he could to get me to stop, to quit, to be defeated, and to be discouraged. And in the year where our theme was invincible, the enemy was doing everything in his power to show me exactly how invincible I really was. And leading into the conferences, I went to bed one night feeling pretty good physically, but I woke up the next day in extreme pain. And just like that, as I slept, my disability, the neurological disease I have, it went crazy inside of me. My left hand and wrist, a part of me that never really hurts at all, had excruciating pain. And for days, this pain increased. And I quickly realized that because my right foot's so bad, I used my left hand a lot more than I ever realized I did. And all of a sudden, I had a new impairment here. The pain was so severe. And I went to the doctors, and he explained to me, that the neurological disease was moving into my hand. It was causing me this pain. And he said, barring a move from God, it was just pain I was going to have to learn to deal with. Okay, now you have to understand something. I have severe pain in my right foot daily. It's something I live with it. It's become such a part of my daily life that, it's just part of me. And I'm kind of used to it. I know it's going to hurt. I have the pain. I feel the pain, but it's just a second nature. I just go with it. But this arm pain, I wasn't used to it. It was something new, and it was driving me absolutely crazy. Now, I know that sounds weird to be able to tolerate the pain in one part of my body, but not be able to take it in another part when it's the exact same pain. But it's true. It's what I was facing. Anyways, this news that this was just something new I was going to have to learn to cope with, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I started thinking thoughts like, I just can't take another thing. And why do I have to deal with another thing? I started worrying about it and then how I was going to do the conferences with this new issue. And just thoughts like that started going through my mind. And as I wrestled with this new issue, things quickly went from bad to worse. What do I mean? Well, I woke up a few days later and I was unable to walk. My right foot had swollen to 3 times its normal size, and the pain was worse than any I had ever experienced. I mean, we're talking, guys, this was within a 2-week time period of the conferences starting. They were just around the corner. They were going to start really soon. And immediately I began to panic. How in the world would I ever be able to travel, to do setup, to drive, to everything I had to do, and then stand to do the conferences, stand to speak. And I just really was kind of in a panic. And I immediately went to my doctor again. And once again, he explained to me that it was my neurological disease. He helped me the best he could, but he explained that it was just something it's just going to get worse. And after I left the room, Odessa started asking him some more questions. And he told her, that he sat her down and kind of said, Des, you need to start preparing yourself for what lays ahead for me with my injury down the road. And he told her that, best case scenario was I was looking at life in the wheelchair. But there was also the possibility of eventually needing an amputation and a metal foot. And just hearing these cold, hard facts, it devastated Odessa to hear it. And when she got into the car, I knew he had told her something really bad. I could just tell something was wrong. Well, at first she wouldn't tell me, but I'm a tenacious guy, and I honestly just kept nagging her and bugging her until she told me, and she finally gave in and told me what he had said. And on the one hand, what she told me, it was facts, and I already knew in my head. It was something I already knew was a possibility. It was nothing new. But on the other hand, it was just really discouraging and really depressing. And that mixed with the extreme pain I was in, I found myself getting a little bit panicky here about the future, okay? I'll be honest. I found myself getting a lot panicky about the future. But yet within minutes it hit me what was going on. The enemy was trying to use this as a weapon to stop the Mantour conferences. All right, now you may be saying, well, Jamie, why are you looking for a demon and everything? The enemy's not around every corner. Life just happens. But, I know that's true. Life happens, and I don't think every bad thing that happens in life is an attack from an enemy, but I knew this was different. And I started thinking about everything that had been said that day. And over it was being said, the facts were given always was like, unless God does this or unless God heals that, this is what's going to end up happening. But all the attention was going towards the bad stuff that would happen. And in this moment, I was faced with two choices. I could believe the inevitably bad stuff and allow myself to sink into defeat and depression, or I could believe that God was stronger than all this bad stuff. Let me tell you, at first I could feel myself sinking real fast. I could feel the defeat hitting me. I caught myself thinking about the worst case scenarios, but then I found myself choosing another thought. I started thinking the thought, but God. But God, I could end up in this chair, but God is in control. I could end up permanently in a wheelchair, but God can still use me. I may never be able to walk again, but God could heal me. Doctors may not be able to help me, but my God can. And in that moment, I faced the decision that we all face at one time or another. The decision to let the trials, the struggles, the hurts, the pain, the discouragement, and the temptation that the enemy throws at us to defeat us. We could let that defeat us, or I could rise up and fight. What did I do? And what does Rocky's brother-in-law, Paulie, have anything to do with all this? Well, guys, we're going to find all that out right after the break. We're right back, guys.
The Mantour Guy Podcast, helping men grow in their walk with God.
The 2019 Mantour season's almost here, and this year we're going to come together to learn how, through God, we are all invincible. Guys, do not miss your local Mantour conference. We're going to have powerful main session messages. We're going to have 3 new relevant workshop topics geared to help you conquer the struggles that so many men face. So put your local 2000 Invincible Mantour on your calendar. Remember, through God, you are invincible.
Follow the Mantour Guy on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks.
Did you know that over 33% of girls have seen pornography online before the age of 13? Protect your daughters by installing Covenant Eyes on all your computers and mobile devices. Covenant Eyes blocks all pornography so that it can't reach your little girl and cause damage to her spiritually or emotionally. Sign up today using the code MANTOR and receive 1 month of service free. Guys, that's a no-brainer. Try it for a month and see how it helps protect your precious daughters from the filth of internet porn. Sign up using code MANTOR, MANTOUR, at covenanteyes.com today.
Listen to the Mantour Guy Podcast on the go via Apple Podcast and Google Play. Thanks.
Hey guys, Jamie Holden here, and I want to tell you that God is moving in our prison systems. And Mantour Ministries, well, we're on the front lines, and you can help. We are giving inmates our books and resources, and guys, the testimonies we're receiving back have been amazing. One person reported that they had 30 men gathering, and 25 of them were delivered and set free from anger. Another shows how the men are weekly working together through our books and how men are growing spiritually. They're starting to have devotions and have prayer time and Bible reading in their individual lives, and they're growing. Guys, I could go on and on. Chains of bondage are being broken among our inmates. You can help us reach even more hurting men inside our prison systems when you become a monthly financial partner with Mantour Ministries. You can become a partner with us by going to mantourministries.com/partner and clicking on the Give Online button. Guys, together we can continue reaching men in our correctional institutions with the life-changing truth of the gospel.
Yep. You're listening to the Mantour Guy Podcast.
New from Mantour Ministries, Invincible, scaling the mountains that keep us from victory. You stayed at this mountain too long. These words spoken by God to the nation of Israel thousands of years ago still ring true for God's men today. It's not God's will for his sons to stay stagnant in their walk with God, unable to conquer the mountains that keep them trapped in their old way of life. He wants you to climb these mountains and conquer them. You can learn how in Mantour Ministries' new book, Invincible, Scaling the Mountains That Keep Us from Victory. Available today by visiting mantourministries.com. You can climb your mountains. You can claim victory. In Christ, you are invincible.
Order your copy today at mantourministries.com. Welcome back to the Mantour Guy podcast.
All right, welcome back, guys. Well, before the break, I was sharing with you about how I faced an all-out assault by the enemy to stop me dead in my tracks. As we continue, I want to share with you the decision I made and the steps that I took. And as I said, I was faced with the decision to accept the attack's premises and stay defeated, or I could fight and overcome. Well, as I said, my initial response was to feel the pain and the discouragement, but as I reflected on all the events, the only words I could think of were, "but God." But for God, everything fear and discouragement said would be true. But my God is bigger. This thought really lit a fire in me. And what action did I do because of this thought? What can you do if you're facing a similar situation? Well, let me share a few things I did with you here today. Well, the first thing I did is I talked openly to God about how it all made me feel. I told him my fears. I told him how discouraged I was and how devastated this all made me feel. And guys, I'm going to be man enough to admit to you, I cried a little bit that day talking to God. But then I shifted my focus on how I felt onto what I knew. I put facts above emotions. I started speaking words of victory and hope in my prayers. And guys, when I shifted my focus from the feelings and emotions to facts and knowledge, that was the first step to victory. I told God how I was feeling, and then I started focusing on facts and truth instead of feelings and emotions. And that is a huge step you need to take when you want to gain victory. Okay, the next thing I did was I grabbed my cell phone, I texted the guys who I trust in my life to support me in prayer. And I was honest with them. I told them exactly what had happened. I asked them to pray with me. I was honest and I said that I know that God has power to heal, but still all these dire predictions and just being emotionally and physically taxed right now, it was all trying to make my head spin in so many different directions. Fears of finances, fear of higher difficulty of doing what I am struggling to do already, the inability to raise full budget and mission support. The list went on and on with all the mind games that are coming at me. And I told I'm fighting as hard as I can. I'm staying positive and trusting on God with all I got. But God's truth is I need miracles, and I asked him to pray for me in this situation. I cannot emphasize to you guys listening today how important of a step that is. Guys, we all need to have brothers that we can depend on in times like this. When the enemy throws everything he has at you to defeat you, you need to have a band of brothers around you that you can turn to for support. Guys, all men need this. Even the super Bible hero Moses, the guy who got water from rocks and split the Red Sea through God's power, of course, but he did these things. He was like a Bible superhero. He needed men to hold his arms up in battle when he was too weak to do it himself. Guys, none of us can do it alone. You need to have your brothers in place ahead of time to help you when these attacks come. You need the support to help you gain the victory. And then, guys, the final thing that I did was I got mad. I stopped feeling scared. I stopped feeling defeated and discouraged. Instead, I got mad. I realized that the deeper attack was going on beneath the surface. There was a deep attack from the enemy going on here. I realized the goal of this attack was to stop me in my tracks and stop the Mantours. And honestly, guys, this made me really angry. Who did the enemy think he was to try and stop me, God's son, from doing what God called me to do? My God is bigger, my God's stronger, and my God could give me the victory. And it really did. It made me angry. It lit a fire inside of me. I stopped wallowing and I started fighting. It kind of gave me the eye of the tiger. I actually went onto Facebook and I changed my cover photo to a picture of the eye of the tiger. I was pumped up and I was ready to go, and it was a way for me to show that I was ready to fight. Yes, guys, the pain was still there. And yes, I was struggling big time physically. The issues were still there. But I was spiritually mad. I mean, honestly, Odessa, she was stunned by attitude, and she didn't understand it, honestly, right away. But I explained it to her by a scene from my favorite movie, Rocky. My favorite Rocky movie is Rocky 3. And I was able to explain why I was so spiritually mad by a scene from that movie. Now, if you ever saw Rocky 3, basically, Rocky fights Mr. T, whose character is Clubber Lang. And in the first fight, Clubber knocks Rocky out. And he loses the belt, and Rocky, he's defeated, he's no longer the world champion, and he's just really defeated and discouraged and down. But then Apollo Creed, the guy he had beat years ago, decides that he's going to train Rocky, and he's going to teach Rocky how to fight and beat Clubber in a rematch. Apollo, he teaches Rocky how not just to fight, how not to be a fighter, but he teaches him how to be a boxer. He teaches him how to have footwork, how to have speed, how to avoid punches. He just teaches him a lot of stuff. And eventually, Rocky picks it up, and they set the rematch, and the rematch is on. Okay, up until this point, Rocky couldn't handle the fact that he lost the first fight. He felt defeated. He was scared of Clubber, and he thought Clubber was stronger than he was, in which, honestly, that was true. He was a stronger man. And Rocky, he carried himself in a defeated manner. But then the fight started, and Rocky uses all that Apollo had taught him about how to be a good boxer. And because of that, Clubber, he couldn't hit Rocky. Rocky was too fast, he was too quick, he kept away with his footwork. And they just kind of dance back and forth, and Rocky gets some good punches in, and Clubber can't really hit Rocky. But then about halfway through the fight, finally Clubber, he just gives a massive punch on Rocky. But instead of going down and staying down, Rocky gets back up and he keeps fighting. And he realizes now that he can take the punches that Clubber throws at him. He's strong enough and he can take whatever's thrown at him. And as the fight goes on, Rocky starts letting Clubber just hit him. And he starts just putting up his guard, and he lets Clubber just keep banging away on him. It looks to everybody like Rocky is getting beat really badly. And even Apollo, he's sitting there, he thinks at ringside, he says to Paulie, he's getting killed out there. But in a rare moment where Paulie knows more than Apollo does, he says, no, he ain't getting killed. He's getting mad. And guys, that scene was all I could think about that afternoon. The enemy was pounding away at me, but instead of crumbling defeat, it made me mad. I honestly felt a holy anger rise up inside of me. Who did this enemy think he was to come at me as a son of God? Greater is he who is inside of me than he who is in the world. And it really did light a fire inside of me. An attack made me angry. It stiffened my spine. And I got up, and I started getting to work, and we pushed ahead playing the conferences, and I left everything else, the pain, the dire predictions, the attacks, everything else, I left that to God. And guys, you need to do the same thing. I don't know what the enemy is attacking with and what he's beating you with over and over. But guys, we can't let the enemy keep defeating us. When he throws his attack at you, no matter what the attack may be, we have two choices in life. We can either roll over and accept the defeat, or we can stand up, we can get angry, and we can fight. And guys, we don't have to keep getting defeated by the enemy. We can turn to God and we can tell him all of our struggles. We can rely on friends for support, and we can get angry at the enemy's audacity, and we can stand up, we can move forward, and we can fight back in a holy anger against the enemy. And we can gain the victory, guys. Guys, thankfully, I was able to walk a few days later, even though I still have a lot of pain, even though my wrist is still really killing me. I was able to walk again and move forward. And we started the Mantours. And in our first Mantour, I immediately saw why the attack was so strong. We had 5 men accept Christ at our first Mantour, and we had many more respond to the altar because they wanted to be set free. And I know none of this has to do with me. It was all through the power of God, but it wouldn't have happened if I had just taken the enemy's beating and stayed down. But because I stood up and I fought back and we pushed ahead, victory was gained not only in my lives, but in the lives of other men. Guys, I say this all the time in this podcast, but it really is true that through God, you are invincible. Guys, the enemy knows this fact, but he still sends the attacks in hopes that you don't know it or that you won't remember it. But in reality, the enemy has no power to defeat us unless we give him that power. We can always resist his attacks. We can always gain victory. We have the power through God, and we can stand and we can win. So guys, be encouraged. No matter what you're facing today, if you call out to God, if you rely on the support of your friends, and if you once and for all stand up and fight, I know you will gain victory. And that's the point I just wanted to bring up to you this week in this week's podcast. No matter what you're facing, what trials, discouragement, temptations, defeats, whatever you're facing, when you conquer your emotions and focus on the facts of God's power, when you have brothers standing there holding your arms in support and praying for you, and when you finally get that holy anger and you stand up and say, enough is enough, you cannot do this to me, I'm a child of God and I have victory. Guys, you will be undefeatable. And like Rocky, you will go on, you will win the fight, you will win the war. And that's just the message I had burning in my heart that I wanted to bring to you this week on the Mantour Guy podcast. Well, guys, once again, I want to thank you for listening today, for giving your time today to listen. I'd love it if you took a second and shared this podcast to your social media accounts. We'd love to be able to reach more men and help them grow in their walk with God. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a 5-star rating and a review on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or on Google Play. These 5-star ratings, reviews, when you leave them, more men can find us in the searches. Also, guys, don't forget, we are in the heart of our Mantour conferences, and God is moving mightily, and you do not want to miss your local conference. So head over to MantourMinistries.com, find out where your local Mantour conference is, when it is, who the speakers are, and make sure that you get registered to attend this event and bring a few of your brothers in Christ with you, guys. You can also learn more about our books, our resources, all that stuff's available at the website at MantourMinistries.com, so check it out. And once again, guys, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week on the Mantour Guy podcast. And remember, through God, you are invincible. We'll see you next week, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Mantour Guy podcast. Be sure to visit MantourMinistries.com to learn more about our books, men's ministry resources, and our Mantour conferences.
Hey guys, Jamie Holden here. Did you know that only 10% of churches have a healthy, thriving men's ministry? That's only 1 out of 10 churches. Well, my mission is to see this number become 100%. Join me in my work with HGUS Missions to help develop men's ministry in the local church. Become a monthly financial investor in the work God called me to do by going to MantourMinistries.com/partner and clicking on the Give Online button. Together, we can see God continue to move among men. One more thing before I wrap up this week, guys. You need to head to CovenantEyes.com and sign up today to protect you and your loved ones from the many traps awaiting you on the internet. I am a Covenant Eyes user. I just signed my 69-year-old father up and put Covenant Eyes on his phone and his laptop. I believe in it. It's an amazing tool. It helps you stay pure online. Guys, I encourage you to try it today. If you use the code MANTOR, you get 30 free days. That's 30 free days. What do you have to lose? So head to CovenantEyes.com, try it today. Like I said, what do you have to lose, guys?
The Mantour Guy podcast, helping men grow in their walk with God.